She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. That's right, this is the Paranormal Portal. And thank you all for joining me here and being a part of the journey. As always, it's an amazing pleasure, but I'm always humbled by the opportunity to do this show. And a special thanks, as always, goes out to Mr. Chris and Mrs. Cherie Geo of TFRlive.com, who gave me the platform in order to do that. So thank you guys. It's been, God, it's going on 6 years now, I guess. I've been doing the show, and it's been an incredible journey, but it's been an honor and a pleasure, and it's one that I hope continues into perpetuity, because I love doing the show. It's like, you just find what you love and you do it, and you never work a day in your life. And, honestly, that's the way I feel about the portal. I love it every day. It's a brand new adventure. So, hope you guys are doing great. Happy Friday to those of you who made it to your Friday. And to those of you who haven't, you work a different kind of schedule, then I'm just sorry. But thanks for being here all the same. We got a great show lined up for you tonight. As always, of course, if I ever came on here and said, yeah, the show tonight sucks, you might want to go make a sandwich or something, then, I'm not doing my job. So, of course, I'm going to say we got a great show lined up for you tonight. But I really do believe that as well. So, we got a lot of material to get through, a lot of phenomena to discuss and to cover. So, there's some great things on the roster tonight. As always, in the second hour during the show, if you want to be a part of the discussion, you've got something paranormal of your own to share, and you'd like to share it with me on the show, then by all means, hour number 2, you can feel free to call in at 720-923-0500. And that's the numbers for fun right here on the Paranormal Portal. So I'll keep watching at it, but only an hour or two if you don't mind, because, it's a lot to keep track of for one guy. And so if I narrow to the second hour, it helps. Additionally, if you have something you want me to see and you're in the TF or the YouTube chat, if you do at Paranormal Portal, I'll likely see it because it gives me or at least I'll have a better chance of seeing it, because it gives me like an orange box with Paranormal Portal in it, and it does grab my attention a lot more, so it helps. If you want me to notice something in the chat, please do that. As always, and in whatever chat room you're in, just be respectful, be responsible, hang out, have a good time. We love to have a lot of fun here on the show, and that goes for the chat room as well. So don't come in and get all crabby about stuff. Don't come in and push your opinions and steamroll people. You're welcome to your opinions, and nobody will take that away from you, but, be respectful. And the mods in the YouTube chat do a wonderful job, and of course TFR is never a problem because BAM's in their mind in the fort, so we got that going for us. So anyway, I guess the best place to start, as always on the Paranormal Portal, is the news. It's the only news in the world that comes with an applause track. It's building the energy, of course, I think. But welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. I'm Brent Thomas again, and brought you some paranormal and weird news from around the world. Some really cool stories, some things I hope you'll enjoy. Again, these are these are mostly fun for the most part. I don't like this part of the show to get too heavy. It's just kind of a chuckle and a laugh and some weirdness. But anyway, the first article tonight that we're going to cover on the news is coming from apparently, and let me copy this link because I want to put it over in TFR as well. This is apparently an old Mothman photo that finally surfaced. I don't know. I just ran into this not too long ago myself, so I don't have an opinion on it. In judging the image that they're showing, it doesn't look incredibly compelling to me. But anyway, this is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com, and it is a 1970s Mothman photograph surfaces. And I don't know, is this it? That could be a bear cub for all we know. It says, what is this creature? See larger image below. So we'll get a second chance at looking at it, but it says allegedly captured 5 decades ago in the U.S. This photograph shows an unidentified creature in the trees. God, it looks like a raccoon or a bear cub. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything too spooky here, but anyway, let's continue. A few days ago, we received an email from an individual who wished to remain anonymous, whose late father had reportedly taken a photograph of a creature somewhere in the United States. But is this really a Mothman, as the sender suggests, or is there more mundane explanation? Sadly, my father recently passed away. While sorting through his personal possessions and belongings, I came across a photo, and amongst the photos, I came across this photo. I asked my mom what she knew about the photo, and she said all that she knew was that my father took the photograph sometime in the 70s whilst on vacation in America with a friend. She remembered my father showing her the photo and telling her that he and his friend saw some sort of human-sized bat or bird-type creature clinging onto a tree. He said he took the photo, and then the creature leapt from the tree and flew off into the wooded area. And that's all he said. My mom said he never mentioned it again. My father was a very private man and was also a very religious man. I asked my mom if his friend is still alive, but she told me he passed away several years ago. So unfortunately, no more knowledge or information can be gained from the photograph. I scanned the photo into my computer to have a better look at it, bearing in mind it's very old photograph. Some details can be seen when you zoom in on the dark object clinging onto the tree. What looks like a head with pointed ears, possibly 2 eyes, maybe a wing to the left, and what looks like a leg to the right can be seen. Whatever it is, it most certainly is very bizarre and very odd looking. I spent a lot of time looking at the internet, and the coolest thing I could find to what matches my father's description is something called the Mothman. And then there's an update here. It says it appears the image has been taken from footage of a black bear climbing a tree. Oh no. There you go. That's what I thought. Check out this video if it's the exact same tree. It is the exact same tree, so it's likely this whole story is a hoax. Thanks to Ross Withers for tracking down the original footage and providing the comparison shot below. Well, there you go. So it's not a Mothman at all, folks. It's something else. And it's unfortunate. It's truly, truly unfortunate. But some people just go out of their way to try to put a foothold into this paranormal world and weird world that we live in. And unfortunately, hoaxes are just a part of the thing. So always take this stuff with a grain of salt, especially this anonymous, oh, my dad took this picture in the 70s kind of thing. Well, could be, but it's a bear cub. So I don't know, but it is what it is. Don't you love that saying? It is what it is. That's the first story tonight. Nothing to see here, folks. Move along. All right. What a waste of time. I hate doing that. I hate having hoaxy stuff on the show. But this one I thought was kind of funny. And this is, of course, the space race is heating up, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of countries that are really vying to get involved in the space race and to become international presence out into the great beyond. And as such, I imagine the pressures are pretty huge for these other countries to really show up and represent. So part of that, I imagine, is just unveiling the things people will use on your space missions. Well, apparently, and this is not my attempt to disparage Iran specifically, but come on, man. That's all I got to say is, come on, man. Here we go. This is an article from unexplained-mysteries.com. Iranian spacesuit is a children's costume. Oh, don't Gilligan. A prominent Iranian official recently tweeted a rather questionable photograph of Iran's new spacesuit. In another blow to the country's struggling space endeavors, Iran's Minister of Information and Communications Technology, Mohammad Javad Jaromi, recently managed to draw some unwanted attention after tweeting a photo of a fake spacesuit with the hashtag #BrightFuture. It didn't take long for the eagle-eyed social media users to point out that the rather shoddy-looking spacesuit bore an uncanny resemblance to a children's costume that was on sale on Amazon for $20. Oh no, that's so sad. It says such suspicions were confirmed when it was noted that on closer inspection, it was even possible to see where someone had removed the NASA's logo from the front of the suit. The tweet was apparently intended to be serious, with Jerome telling a group of students mere hours later that Iran's dream was to plant a flag on the surface of the moon. It is possible that the suit was meant more as a symbolic gesture, as an ambition, rather than as a demonstration of an actual spacesuit. However, the decision to post it up was still a bit strange. Unsurprisingly, social media users have made light of the situation by producing a number of memes and photoshopping the Iranian suit onto photographs of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. As for Iran's space ambitions, sadly, things haven't been going too well in recent years, with a satellite launch back in January 2019 failing to reach orbit. It will definitely be some time yet before Jerome's moon landing vision comes to fruition. Update: Jerome has since issued an apology to the people and space scientists of Iran, stating that his department's advertising team undeniably made a mistake in choosing the image. Yeah, you made a mistake. It's especially a mistake when everyone knows it's a mistake. So there you go. There's the Iranian representation. I'll put this over on TFR as well for those who may be there, at least for BAM. You can check it out here, BAM. Here's the link. But those of you on YouTube are seeing it live with me on the screen. That's really unfortunate. And, it's got to be double tough to try to compete on any serious level. But then again, to promote a hoax, to promote the vision of progress, I don't think does yourself any favors either. So it may be hard in and of itself, but if you're making a joke out of your own space program, then you kind of deserve that, that slap in the forehead. So it's hard to feel too bad for them. But anyway, that's what they're going to be putting on astronauts in Iran. Good luck on your spacewalk. We got an Iranian astrocycle. Yeah, probably not much for the insulation factor. That's actually sad. It's actually tragic. But anyway, that's another one. And let's continue on in our journey through the weird news of the day. This is a strange one. I don't know what to make of this one. This is just a weird story. Again, not necessarily paranormal, but definitely not normal. And here you go. Let me close that. All right, so this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Again, great site. Love this site. They got so much great stuff here. Mystery as pigeon spotted wearing a sombrero. Last month it was pigeons wearing cowboy hats. Now it's pigeons wearing sombreros. Who is responsible? This was dated when? January of last year. So it's been a while. I haven't heard of any new things coming up, but it's weird and funny. So it can be current events here on the show. We are not actually a news agency for the record. So it's news to me. It's news. That's how it works here. The mystery of who's been sticking tiny hats onto pigeons has deepened further still this week after photographs emerged showing one of the birds wearing a pint-sized headgear in Reno, Nevada. So I'm out in the field on a ride-along with parking enforcements, and what do I see? Appears to be a pigeon with a sombrero, wrote Twitter user Sabra Newbie, who snapped the spectacle. Last month, a number of pigeons were spotted in Las Vegas, Nevada, wearing small cowboy hats, leading to questions over who might be responsible, as well as concerns for the bird's safety. Earlier this year, those fears proved more than justified when one of the original hat-wearing birds was reported to have died, possibly from the fumes produced by the glue in the hat, glue that the culprit used. Investigations, however, have so far failed to identify who is responsible or why they are doing it. There you go, little sombrero-wearing pigeons. It's kind of adorable, but in a creepy way, because obviously if birds were meant to have hats, they'd be born with them, much like us and wings, you know. So, or they know how to make them themselves. That's really weird. It's too bad that the toxic glue is what killed that other one, but I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's not a perfect world. Doesn't matter. It's unfortunate people are doing such silly things, but then again, I think the world really needs a laugh. So I'm kind of torn on this. There's a really juvenile, immature part of me that's thinking this is hilarious, and then there's another part of me that's like, oh, that's really unfortunate. So I don't know where you fall on the spectrum, but that's my own little dialogue going on with this. All right, here's another one, and this one is in another attempt to remain relevant. Uri Geller's back in the news. At least he was in January of last year when apparently he applies for Weirdos and Misfits job. That's right. Uri Geller's tired of sitting on the sidelines watching life go by, living on his past achievements. Apparently he wants a little more of that pie. So he's been doing some weird things. The most recently, other than this article, he was apparently involved in a lawsuit with the Nintendo Corporation over a Pokemon card that somehow was relevant to him. And I don't remember what even the card was called, but it was like a spoon bender or something like that. And he took great umbrage with it and tried to sue Nintendo. Well, he just recently dropped the suit, which is great. Good for you. You gotta, if you're going to be a public figure, you got to be willing to take some on the chin. It's just part of the gig. But he was having issues with it. But when he found out how unpopular it was making him, he dumped the lawsuit, which is good. But apparently he's still trying to find something to do. So the celebrity spoonbender has applied for the British government job of asking for assorted weirdos. The Israeli illusionist has already been making headlines for his political stunts in recent months. Back in March 2019, he attempted to put a stop to Brexit by encouraging others to transmit psychic energy. Then in December, he claimed to have used his powers to sway the UK general election. Now he's applying for an actual government job after Boris Johnson's senior advisor, Dominic Cummings, put out an advertisement for assorted weirdo and misfits. According to him, there's not enough genuine cognitive diversity in the civil service. While many have doubted my abilities, my achievements cannot be dismissed as trickery or illusions. Geller wrote in a cover letter intended as an application for the role, which the amazing Randy or whatever might disagree with completely. But anyway, in my intelligence work, I assisted in the Operation Desert Storm, helped to locate secret tunnels in North Korea, and used my skills to erase crucial diplomatic discs on their way to Moscow. Perhaps you could have used my abilities in your dealings with Michael Barnier. He also admitted to Reuters that he felt his powers would give him an unfair advantage over other candidates. Suffice to say, however, it's unlikely he will be getting employed by Cummings anytime soon. Yeah, I don't think so. But again, it's one of those things. I think you just gotta, in my opinion, like you only get so much time in the limelight, and when it's over, you just gotta let it be over. It was a hell of a journey. Have a good time. Look back fondly at the memories, but don't make a spectacle of yourself. But he seems to be at the spectacle of himself part, and that's unfortunate because, there are those who really believe in him. And I don't believe or disbelieve. I don't know. It's whatever it is. He maybe has some ability. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But just an interesting character all the same. He's kind of making a caricature out of him, out of his former self. And that's really unfortunate. So let's continue on. And let me see what time we got here. Yeah, we're doing good. It looks like I got one more article to go through with you guys here. And then we'll be heading towards the break. The break is heading. It's a busy night on YouTube tonight, folks. So Freaky Friday was awesome. They had Nano Girl on there, and we're talking about all kinds of weird Matrixy stuff, which was awesome. And then Daniela Aiello, she had her big show tonight too, where she had a guest on talking about Bigfoot, but then the update from the expedition over there as well. So lots of traffic out there. Pretty amazing stuff going on. It's just cool to be a part of it. All right, this is from unexplainedmysteries.com, and Parrot's cries for help prompt police call out. That's kind of a weird headline, but anyway, I think the parrot yelled enough that it got people's attention and the police came. An ill-behaved parrot named Rambo recently prompted a neighbor to call the emergency services. The troublesome bird became the subject of a police investigation earlier this month after it kept screaming, "Let me out! Let me out! Ah! Ah!" while outside with its owner. It wasn't long before 4 officers from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office arrived on the scene. 4. You heard that right. 4. For a parrot. It turned out that a neighbor had heard the parrot and was concerned that someone was in trouble. I was changing the brakes on my wife's car and had my 40-year-old parrot Rambo on his outside perch where he sings and talks, the parrot's owner stated. Sometime later, 4 police officers showed up and saying a neighbor called because she heard a woman screaming for help. I promptly introduced the officers to Rambo, and we all had a good laugh. Afterwards, I introduced Rambo to the neighbor who called in the screaming, and she too had a good laugh. Sometimes Rambo yells, "Help, help, let me out." Sometimes I laugh at something I taught him when I was a kid and Rambo lived in a cage. Footage of the incident can be viewed below. Well, I'm not gonna show the footage for obvious reasons because I don't feel like another copyright strike or donating any ad revenue to a copyright holder, which has happened, unfortunately, too many times on my show. But it is interesting. Yeah, I suppose if the person didn't know there was a bird involved and just heard a small voice like that, it would sound pretty terrifying. But still, 4 officers? Wow. They were almost swatted. Jeez. So anyway, that's that one. And I think that'll kind of wrap up the news tonight. I don't know. That's about all I pulled up for the news segment. But this has been a production of the Paranormal Portal News. All right, folks, we are at it again. We're kind of cozying up to the break here just in a few minutes, but we got a lot of things we're going to get through tonight. We're going to go through some strange disappearances. People that had seen UFOs and had reported seeing UFOs and then suddenly disappeared themselves. We're also going to go through more of the truckers' tales of things they've seen on the open road, as well as some strange weirdness in another article. So we've got three big things coming up, and then a whole bunch of little supplemental stuff if we need it. But and then hour number 2, don't forget we can do the phone calls. So lots on the plate tonight, lots to get to, and we're going to start hitting it. The UFO stories right when we come back from break. Those would be interesting because, of course, everybody's heard the stories of the Men in Black. And perhaps these are, I don't know, for lack of a better word, a different tactic used by the Men in Black. Maybe they don't just come up and talk and intimidate. Maybe sometimes they drag people away and make them not here anymore. And that's kind of creepy. And then, of course, you tie that in with David Paulides missing 411 stuff, and maybe it explains some things. Maybe some of those people that disappeared, maybe they just saw too much. I don't know. I don't know what you think about that kind of stuff, but I find it very interesting that that could be the case. Just by virtue of seeing something not of this world. Could be a liability. That to me is pretty concerning, though. Because at that point, I'm not sure what the Men in Black are, full disclosure. I don't know. I don't know if they work for our government or another government, or if they work for another people entirely, and they're kind of watchdogs as the movies depict. Like, could they just be watching and making sure everything stays within a certain paradigm? And it's possible, I guess. I don't know. My jury's still out on that kind of stuff, but the description of things like Men in Black can be everything from looking like military grade or CIA type of people to almost android or robotic kind of people that seem to be artificial intelligence or some sort of android. Very, very strange stories. And people that experience those do talk about an almost altered state, that they're in almost an altered state throughout the entire confrontation with these other people. So it does seem to be something more than just being confronted with a strange person or being. It does seem to also have energetic or spiritual ramifications too. So could be. If you like scary stories that remind you that you're mortal, tune in to Brent Thomas on the Paranormal Portal. I like that Buzzacino. Buzzacino is like the hype man here, or hype lady. I don't know, male or female, what you are, but thank you. That's very clever. I like that. I need some taglines for all these YouTube thumbnails. That's kind of the big math for doing a show like this. But we're going to go to our break. God, at some time. I didn't hear any bells or anything. But the timer says we're done. I guess I'm just going to switch it over to break, and we'll come back when it says we're live. So we'll be, there's the bell. Okay. All right. The clocks and stuff are a little out of sync, but we'll get this dialed in, folks. Don't go away. More of the Paranormal Portal in just a couple minutes. ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it here. Half hour number 2 is upon us. And as such, the portal continues. And I see that we've got some discussion in the chat room about some calling that's going to happen in the second hour. So very cool. I look forward to it. We are going to go right now, though, to an article I've got prepared for you, for your listening pleasure. Not even sure what kind of accent that was supposed to be, but it's the only one I could whip up on short notice. I just used some menthol stuff, to clear my sinuses. And now I feel like I've been cutting onions. Oh, God, that's just what I needed. That didn't go according to plan at all. So it's perfect time to start reading articles. You can tell I've been at this for a while, huh? All right. Anyway, let's continue. The article in question tonight is coming from the Occult Museum, which is a really cool site if you're not familiar with it. Anytime we talk about different sites on the show, I just hope you guys will go out and support them. Go check out their work because, we talk about just a small snippet of things that are out there. But there's some incredible sites, a lot of incredible authors and contributors and stuff. And we certainly would like to showcase those great sites as we find them. And that's part of what I hope we're doing here on the portal because, a lot of times people are doing these things on their own blood, sweat, and tears just because they love it. And we as a group can certainly help to validate that work. So please do. This article, however, is called 6 Mysterious Cases of People Who Disappeared After Seeing UFOs. Very creepy. And I don't know that I'm familiar with any of these. So this will be a little bit of an education. The real X-Files: when strange lights are seen in the sky, people vanish into thin air. Every day, thousands of people are reported missing. Some run away from their lives to start anew, but statistically speaking, most are the victims of a crime. Whether it be a kidnapping, abduction, murder, or otherwise, however, a small fraction of these disappearances can all be connected by reported sightings of UFOs. After witnessing strange aircrafts in the sky, people simply vanished into thin air. Baffling the police despite decades of investigations and research, what follows is a list of the 5 most intriguing cases along with some potential explanations for what happened to these people who now number among the disappeared. So this one is a mid-flight disappearance. This looks like a Felix Monella and Robert. There's Lieutenant Robert L. Wilson. Lieutenant Felix Monella, why does that look like Monella? Okay. But this is Moncla. I must be Monella. This must be a misprint. Was stationed at the Kinross Air Force Base in Michigan when an unidentified flying object was spotted on the radar. That says Moncla. All right, well, I'll just I don't know what the hell to call this guy. But anyway, sorry, no offense meant to the person in the article, but I have no idea what name I'm supposed to be reading. Moncla, along with the radar observer Robert Wilson, were sent to investigate with an F-89 Scorpion interceptor, but disappeared after overcoming and seemingly merging with the UFO. As events unfolded, Moncla closed in on the object after crossing Lake Superior, moving at 500 miles per hour, but then just vanished. No wreckage was ever found, and there was no record of any other planes in the region of sky. So what happened to Moncla and his F-89 Scorpion? I think they were Borged. The Borg Star Trek reference, for those of you that are not Trekkies. They would absorb technologies and people. It was kind of creepy. But anyway, this one is another one taken into space. Light aircraft pilot Frederick Valentik was flying a Cessna 182L to King Island in Australia in 1978 when he spotted a UFO that hovered about 1,000 feet above his aircraft. In reporting its strange behavior, Valentik became convinced that it could be an alien craft. Moments later, his aircraft began malfunctioning. The last words the aircraft controllers heard Frederick Valentik speak were, "It is not an aircraft." Valentik and his plane were never seen again, during that same weekend, there were 10 UFO sightings in the area. Now, this one I'm familiar with. I've seen some shows depicting the events of this. And I guess this article is more about people disappearing right after observing a UFO. But this is an unusual case because the guy was like literally 18 or 19 years old, just got his pilot's license so that he could start doing deliveries, throughout Australia and earn a living and a life. But he was flying out to this island and sighted something in the sky and was calling in air traffic control and saying, what is this? I'm seeing something. And they're like, we don't see anything. We don't know what you're seeing. Please describe. And he goes on to talk, and there's interference. There's some, apparently some transmission issues where his voice is not being projected well, whether that's electrical interference of some kind or electromagnetic, it's hard to know. But all they got was spotty things after that. And his last words were, "This is not an aircraft." But what I've heard theorized is that they somehow think maybe he ended up inverted and, he was getting closer and closer to the water, thinking that he wasn't inverted. And, I'm not a pilot and I'm not well versed with airplane travel, but I don't know how easy that would be to happen. I know he was night flying, so it was all instrumentation, but it should, if somebody's a pilot, they should know when they're right side up or upside down. I would think they would know that pretty quickly, but that's been the speculation. However, no wreckage was ever found, and this person just disappeared, just fell off the face of the earth, for lack of a better term. Now, it's possible the plane was ditched and just descended, and that was it. But you would think there would be some kind of wreckage, but apparently not. So, very curious story. I don't know of any further explanations or ideas of it since, what I've heard. But this one's called Absorbed by Lightning. That does not feel pleasant. I can understand absorbing some essential oils or something, but lightning doesn't sound very nice. As one of the 7 mysteries of the medieval world, Stonehenge is one of the most iconic monuments in the world. Although once open to the public for rituals and camping, various events in the 70s and 80s resulted in restrictions. One common story tells of a group of hippies camping in the center of the circle in 1971 when a thunderstorm struck them from Salisbury Plain. A farmer and a policeman each witnessed the lightning strike the stones at around 2 a.m., creating an eerily intense light. After hearing the campers' screams, the two ran to help but discovered only the remnants of a campfire and some still smoldering tent pegs. Oh, God. That is horrible. So they were just eliminated. Like there wasn't even remains. I don't know how that could be, right? Could the lightning have activated something and they just got zipped away? Oh, wow. How do you like that? I'm not even sure if that's possible because you're talking about if it's to totally disintegrate a body into just ash that would just disappear and disperse would take an incredibly intense heat. Now, lightning is no joke. I mean, there's a reason lightning booms, and it's because the air is superheated and explodes. And so that's why we have thunder. But I still don't think, with all of the people that are struck by lightning, there's at least a burnt shoe. There's a stump or something left. Usually the person is dead, but they've got scorch marks in their skull and then exit points of the electricity entering into the ground. So I don't know how hot that would have to be to wipe out an entire campsite and just leave some smoldering tent pegs. But that's a hell of a thing. And if it's just one strike, how big was that strike? Because it would have to cover a huge, diameter in order to absorb all of those people. Well, I don't know how many people, but some people anyway. This one's called Swept Away in the Snow. This one looks like some Native American thing. The deserted Inuit village on the edge of Lake Enjikuni. In November 1930, fur trapper Joe LaBelle walked into an Inuit village on the edge of Lake Anjikuni and had been suddenly and inexplicably abandoned by its inhabitants. In this Roswell of the North, he found recently abandoned stew and piles of clothing and food stored in huts that seemed to indicate the people had not intended to leave. More confusingly, LaBelle discovered a burial ground with disturbed and empty graves and a pack of sled dogs that had been starved to death and buried beneath the snow. The Canadian Mounted Police have continued to this day to investigate the mystery, and many believe the sudden disappearance of the village inhabitants are related to the reports of UFOs seen on the night of the Inuits that they vanished into thin air. This is a really popular case, and it's very, very bizarre. Apparently, these people would commonly see UFOs and even had, from what I understand, some kind of relationship with them. Like there's certain people in the village that had reported, I believe, I might be speaking way out of turn here. This is just me recollecting, but I think there was an ongoing dialogue between these visitors and the Inuit people that were there. If they dug up graves and stuff, it doesn't sound like they planned on coming back. So I think, it could be just one of those cases where these visitors found these people, found them to be wonderful, amazing, and said, we'll take you to a better place, and took them away. I hope so. Because, that would be absolutely tragic if a whole people were wiped out just suddenly like that. And I know this guy that discovered it was familiar with this place. Like, he had been there before. I think he kind of showed up this time unexpectedly because things went wrong on his journey, and he had to go to the one place that he knew he could get help. And he arrived there, and it was just absolutely abandoned, including pots with plates of food still on the table, that kind of stuff. I mean, it was just as if the people were just boom, gone. So very incredible story. Very, very unnerving too. This one is Lost in the Clouds. And there isn't much visually here for those of you on TFR, iHeart, tune in to TalkStream Live. So I'm not going to bother with the link because it's, there's some old photographs here, but it's just stock photos. After taking off from MacDill Air Force Base in 1956, a single Boeing B-47 Stratojet bomber flew towards Ben Guerir Air Force Base in Morocco for a scheduled tanker refueling over the Mediterranean Sea. After easily completing the first refueling, the aircraft descended through solid cloud to commence the second refueling at 14,000 feet. However, it failed to make contact with the tanker and never returned, leaving no wreckage or debris to be found, despite several extensive investigations, and as a result, it remains unclear what became of the bomber, much less the two unarmed nuclear payloads it carried aboard. Yeah, that's not a good thing. I mean, they're unarmed, but still, they can probably be armed. Yeah, that's not good. Ugh. All right. Unsolved in the Air is the next one. It says, one of the world's most famous disappearances involve a woman famous for her own right as a pioneer in aviation. When setting out to complete her 2,500-mile flight over the Pacific in 1937, Amelia Earhart and navigator Fred Noonan could not have known they would not make it to their destination. There are many theories about what exactly happened, including Earhart crashed in the sea, ran out of gas due to inclement weather, that she was captured by the Japanese, or crash landed on an anonymous island. Some people have theorized Earhart might either unwittingly or in collusion with the U.S. government have made contact with alien spacecraft and was abducted. Whatever the reason, the two went missing on July 2nd, 1937, shortly after reporting their position over the Nubian Islands, and there remains no conclusive evidence for what exactly happened to one of history's most talented aviators. Yeah, that's a real conundrum too. I don't know. I don't really have a lot of opinion on that, but I think there's the crash landing idea, I think, at least had some merit of it, because apparently there were some tribal people in those islands that reported, I think, some people that were Caucasian, as I recall. But again, it's one of those things. I never really was that interested in missing people kind of stuff until David Paulides came along with his tales. But prior to that, it was just, that's weird. But, I don't know. I never really looked into many of these stories to any kind of degree, but it's pretty creepy stuff. But it looks like that's going to be this article. So those are several, most of which could just be, hey, something went sideways. And there could be some crashes going on or whatever. But the Stonehenge one I find really interesting because, I don't know, there's no real report of a UFO in there, but it was a thunderstorm. Other than that, the people that saw UFOs and then suddenly they were no longer with us, that's pretty unusual. I guess there's a liability to seeing them. Or maybe the liability is in reporting them. Maybe if you know about it, it's okay. But once you start talking about it, it's like, oh, suck them up, get them out of there. I don't know. I often wondered that. So again, this is allegedly in very intelligent and advanced peoples that are coming via whatever means, whether they're transdimensional, whether they're interstellar, whether they're, whatever. Why would they be secretive? What would they have to hide or be hiding from us, that they wouldn't want us to know? And I don't know. It's very strange. There's so many questions in this kind of material, and I don't know. I don't pretend to have any answers. I had a question based upon a story that was posted to the Paranormal Portal fans, and I want to cover that real quick. Let me see if I can pull up that page, because it was I think Android from the YouTube chat was asking my opinion of it, and the article had to do with, apparently in Texas, somebody went missing, and it's hard to say what's going on there, but let me just open up the article and we'll go over it quick. It's not a real long article, but it is kind of interesting. And here's the thing: I think the actual answer is probably in the article there, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But it was asked in last night's show, and I said I would check it out. So let me do that quick while I'm thinking about it. And this is coming from theguardian.com. And it's Texas man found dead in the woods. Could have been killed by a mountain lion. Residents warned to be watchful after sheriff office says 28-year-old died from wild animal attack, possibly a mountain lion. A 28-year-old man found dead in the wooded area in rural Texas was killed by a wild animal, possibly a mountain lion, according to local county officials. The Hood County Sheriff's Office on Saturday said that deputies found Christopher Allen Whitley's body on Thursday, a day after he went missing near Lipan, located 50 miles southwest of Fort Worth. The sheriff's office said in the Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office conducted an autopsy and issued a preliminary finding that an animal attacked and killed Whiteley. Sheriff's Office's deputies, Texas game wardens, and U.S. Department of Agriculture trapper with expertise in tracking and removing mountain lions were trying to locate the animal. Authorities warned residents in the area to be mindful of their surroundings and to keep children and animals inside at night, which is when mountain lions primarily hunt. There are rarely confirmed sightings of mountain lions in North Texas, but the state's Parks and Wildlife Department on Tuesday said its biologists had verified a sighting on private property in the Dallas suburb of Rowlett, which is more than 100 kilometers from where the Whitley was killed, or Whiteley. A department spokeswoman, Megan Radke, said on Sunday that it was not connected to the sighting in Rowlett to the man's death. It was not connecting it. We have favorite ass millions. Oh, they're fundraising or whatever. But here's the thing. There's a reason that they called in agriculture trapper with expertise in tracking and removing mountain lions. They must have found a print or something of that measure to warrant them calling in that person specifically. If they had thought it was wolves, they probably would have called in somebody dealing with canid types of attacks, or wolves, possibly from Minnesota or other region that deals with wolves. There are the red wolves down in the border areas. And there is a real reluctance by many states across the nation to admit, even in light of trail cam evidence, even in light of people finding huge feline prints, to acknowledge that there are big cats that are redispersed themselves throughout the nation. They were pretty much eradicated from most of North America for a long time, hundreds of years or 100 years anyway, because overhunting and ranchers and stuff picking them off and considering them nuisance animals and trying to preserve their wild or their farms. But these are incredibly adaptable, intelligent animals as far as animals go. The big cats are really clever, really smart, and they are incredibly good at not being seen. You may run into one in the woods if you're very lucky, but most people will never see them. There's many people that have spent their lifetimes out in the woods in mountain lion territory and never seen them. And there's a reason that most of the movies and stuff, when you're seeing a movie depicting a mountain lion, those are trained animals because you just can't find them out there. And even in most National Geographic things, most of those are still set up shots with trained or tamed mountain lions because you just can't capture them very much out there. They obviously have it within them to exist anywhere in North America. That's where they existed prior, between them and the pumas and the cougars and such. Cougars and mountain lions, I think, are interchangeable, and maybe the puma as well. But there seems to be a reluctance to say, yes, we have them. And I suppose it's because they don't want people to be afraid, because I think parks and recreation kind of revenue is important to most states. And if they started saying, yeah, we got mountain lions up here, so be careful, then it may deter a lot of people from going out and spending their money enjoying the parks and outdoors and stuff. So it sounds like it's probably a financial decision that they're avoiding it. But in that article, they very specifically said they had a person whose specialty dealt with big cats. So it must have been something with the wounds. I think the question was, could it have been like a dog man or something? I suppose it could. I mean, there isn't much in the article to go by other than they found somebody that appears to have been, mauled to death. And we don't know anything about the state he was in. Was he just cut and chewed on and that's it? Or were there pieces missing? Was he fed on? We don't know. So there's a lot of questions still unanswered in that. So very, very tragic tale though. But that's my 2 cents on it. I don't know. It's until more information comes out or anything more to substantiate a possible other kind of animal, I wouldn't stretch it that far to say it was some form of cryptid. But that's just my 2 cents, folks. I don't really know that much. I just have a lot of opinions, and that can be good, bad, or otherwise, I guess. But they're mine. I love them all. No, it is what it is. That's what I think. And you'll have to let me know what you think. If you want to check out the article in full, check out the Paranormal Portal fans group on Facebook. You'll find it listed there as submitted by one of our listeners. And let us know what you think. I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on what they think that could be. I think it could be just a mountain lion. In fact, the main image that was shown on there, I think, is there's this one guy that has a mountain lion pet. And it was kind of stunted. There's a reason the legs are so short on that mountain lion is because that's somebody's pet. So they used it for that image. Pretty interesting. I think that'd be kind of a cool pet. Because if you had one, you probably wouldn't have to worry about other ones. Maybe. I don't know how that works. But anyway, interesting. Where are we at for the time? I got to see the time because, we're just about at the break. I just want to take a moment, of course, ladies and gentlemen, to mention following the Paranormal Portal. Of course, we followed Freaky Friday on TFR, iHeart, Tune In and TalkStream Live, and they had a great show. I was able to listen to a little bit of it as I prep for tonight, but following the portal is Paisley Wild, The Spaces Between. So you might want to check that out. Wonderful show, wonderful friend. And she works real hard on her show and puts a lot of heart into it. So definitely, if you can, support it. And if you like to watch via YouTube, you can check out her live stream. You can check it out on tfrlive.com and chat with her in the chat room there at tfrlive.com/chat. But if you like to watch the YouTube feed, You can check out her YouTube channel where she simulcasts as well. It's youtube.com/thespacesbetween. So we're going to go to our hour break. And when we come back, the phone lines will be open. So if anybody's got something to share, they want to talk, by all means, 720-923-0500. We're going to come back with a lot more paranormal weirdness for you on this Friday night 2-hour paranormal extravaganza. And hope you're ready. So just waiting for that bell, and we'll go to break. Still waiting. There's the bell. All right, we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away. Whoa, jeez.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
A nightmare from which they cannot wake. I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeist are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is hour number 2 of the Paranormal Portal, and I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are underway. We have begun hour number 2. First hour really flew, didn't it? I mean, I've been doing this for 6 years, but I swear to you, I never get used to how quickly the time goes when I start talking. I feel sorry for those people that got to be around me all the time. I don't realize how much I can talk. And it's funny because normally, outside of doing the show, I'm really a very introverted kind of person, so I really don't talk a whole lot. But God, when I start getting on the show and I open my mouth, it's like all this stuff just comes out. So I don't know. I hope it's a good thing. I hope you guys don't mind me just filling the mic with all this noise, but it's kind of my job, so that's what I got to do. Otherwise, I don't think anybody would watch. But anyway, we've got the call board is open now. And it turns out there is a call. After much public pressure and encouragement, we have a call. We got a couple calls, actually, but I'm not sure if I'm taking the other one because it's a blocked number, and I can't do blocked numbers because that's when I get idiots calling. So no offense if anybody calls in normally blocked, but I can't. The last time I had a block call and I answered it, it was somebody using racist language, and I'm not going to do that anymore. So if your number's blocked, you might want to unblock it before you call me. But let's get to the call I do know here, and this is area code 806. You're on the horn.
Well, it's me. I'm Brooks.
Hey, Brooks. You made it. Thank you for bowing to peer pressure and calling in.
Yes, thank my sister Tracy Gale and Ethan there. Okay, my story. Now, my sister will verify this. In the 60s, we had a lot of, sightings of UFOs.
Oh, okay.
Our parents had. We live in the Texas Panhandle. Well, she lives in Canada now, but okay. We had a houseboat over at Lake Conchas in New Mexico, and we'd go there. My parents loved to fish, so every break we had, we'd go on this houseboat, and UFOs would follow us. We'd see them all the time, but anyway, so when my daughter was about 3, she was born in '89. And so 90, 91, 92 or 93, we lived in a mobile home, and we lived out in the country.
Okay.
And my daughter, she didn't like sleeping at all. Mm-hmm. And I would have to stay up with her. And she did this, no kidding, till we moved from there, and she was 12 years old.
Okay.
She would not sleep in her room. So when she was about 3, I got her in her room, and I thought, oh, this is great. So I laid down, and the way the bed was is I could see all the way down the mobile home, all the way to the very end. I looked through the kitchen, the living room, and down the hall. And so I just got laid down, and I'm sitting there looking, and I see her come out of the bedroom and running around the kitchen table and upside the bed.
Oh.
and put her arms, like it was like her arms went up on the bed, and she put her chin on her hands and was looking at me. And I was looking at her, I thought, and it hit me it wasn't her.
Oh. Oh.
It was a gray.
Oh, no.
A gray alien.
Wow.
And I had the pit of fear in my stomach. It scared me really, really bad.
Yeah.
And it was just boom, I went to sleep. How I could go to sleep with that fear, I don't know.
Oh,
but it was looking at me. It was probably 4 inches from my face.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure
Okay.
it took control of you, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so the next morning when I woke up, I mean, that fear was right there.
Yeah.
And I sat up and I asked my husband, I told him what happened. I said, did you see anything last night? And he just looked at me, and he didn't say anything. And so I kept asking him through the day. I said, did you see anything? Did you see anything? And he just wouldn't answer me.
Oh, my God.
Well, that night he liked to go to the bar.
Uh-huh.
So we went to the bar, and we had a friend out there that his son was a deputy in a town, two towns to the south of us, just north of Lubbock.
Okay.
And he said, man, oh man, he said, did you hear what was going on last night? And we said, no, we don't. And he said, they were chasing UFOs all over the place.
Oh, my God. Wow.
And I sat there and I looked at my husband and I said, see there, I said something. And then he looked at me and he said, I'll tell you what I saw. He said, I saw it come around to the end of the bed and jump up on top of the bed.
Oh, my God. So he did see all kinds. Wow.
He did see it. He did see it.
That's amazing.
He did see it.
Oh. Yeah, that'd make me want to go to the bar too.
Yeah. So that's my creepy gray encounter. And I had a close-up encounter with it. It was right in my face.
Now, is it just, as far as you know, is that just a one-time encounter, or have you had other weird things going on that you think might somehow be connected to that?
Yes, so there was, I'm 59 years old.
Okay.
So I lived in that trailer in that spot for 20 years.
Okay.
And we had all sorts of things happening in that house for 20 years. When my daughter was a little bit older, her cousin came over. They were just getting old enough to spend the night, with each other.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, my daughter wouldn't sleep in a room, but she'd play in there, but she wouldn't sleep in there. But I said, okay, now that your cousin's here, y'all can sleep in here. Well, her cousin, they were probably 6, 7 years old. Mm-hmm. She came screaming out of the room and said, there's an owl looking in the window.
Oh, owls. Wow. Owls come up all the time, with grays especially.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then we had all sorts of paranormal activity happening. I've got so many stories on that. It's just unbelievable.
How would you like to get together with me and do a podcast episode?
Sure. I'd like to do that.
Okay.
I think my son would like to join in on that because there was a lot of stuff that happened with him too.
Okay. Well, just email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com and we'll touch base. But we definitely should get this recorded. It is by virtue of being here, but I can tell you've got a lot more to share. So if you're willing to, I'd love to have you as a guest and we can discuss it further.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Well,
so
that's very incredible. Now, Do you have any memories of this stuff happening throughout your life, or is this more just at this property?
Well, it's basically, I mean, like I said, when we were younger, I guess our mom died in '69, and so like the day my mom died, our dad sold the houseboat, so we didn't go back to Lake Conscious anymore.
Okay.
But like I said, we saw UFOs. I mean, we actually saw saucers over there.
Oh, okay.
And then at the trailer I was in, we would sit out at night and have a fire in a, cut off 55-gallon barrel.
Okay.
And we would see them every night out there. You could just watch them all night long out there.
It's just amazing.
So
it's amazing, and the reason I ask is because generally these kind of encounters they can just be one-offs or just a little period of time, but essentially if they show themselves, there seems to be a history involved there, and that this has probably been going on for an awful long time. We did have a question in the chat from Bomber asking, what did it look like? And you said a little gray, but can you be as specific as possible? And did you hear any telepathic speaking?
No, I didn't hear any telepathic speaking.
Okay.
But it was about 3 foot tall.
Uh-huh.
It was about the size of what my daughter, would have been at 3 years old.
Okay.
It had the big round head with the slitted, eyes, the slanted eyes, slit mouth. And it just sat there and was staring at me. I mean, it was like, hi, I'm right here.
It's time. Yeah.
I was fully expecting to see my daughter there.
Yeah.
Because she just wouldn't stay in her room. She just wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that one time, my husband at that time, her dad, he would get so mad at me because I would have to stay up with her.
Sure. Wow.
I mean, every night it was, and it wasn't, she would just lay on the couch and she wasn't jumping around, she wasn't fidgety, any of that. She'd just lay there.
Huh. That's wild.
She just would not sleep in her room. So I just normally thought it was her, and it wasn't her.
That's incredible. Wow. You've had some incredible experiences, and I'm really looking forward to talking with you and having you as a guest on the show. So get a hold of me via email, and we'll explore this further if that's good with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, thanks, Brooks, for calling in. Thanks for sharing your story with us here. That's amazing. And if anything else pops up, please, continue to let us know.
Okay, I will. Thanks, Brent.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
There you have it, folks. What a great call-in. Wow. That's really, really intense. Really, really intense stuff. Hi, Aiden. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. How about coffee? Jugs bomb. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what's going on. But thank you so much for calling in, Brooks. That was great to hear that. That's always will be my favorite part of doing the show is talking to the people that are experiencing things. That's so powerful. And really, there's no better experience than, hearing from anyone other than the people that are living it. And that's got to be just so intense. I don't know what I would do. As I'm listening to that story, I'm thinking, what if it was me? And I was laying in bed and I was sure the minion was going to come running up, and then I look over and it's not my kid. I'm pretty sure I'd be fudge striping the bed sheets. That's just horribly, horribly shocking. But the fact that then it was like, okay, lights out, boom. Yeah, you know that. Well, of course, people get sent into trance-like states all the time, reportedly, from these experiences. And I don't know. I suppose it's by virtue of them just being so much more advanced that they can just screw up our brain waves and make us compliant. Our brains fire neurons to do things, and we make choices, and activate them in our physical body up here, and it's an electrochemical process. So it's probably not a huge thing to alter those brain waves and make you do whatever the hell they want you to. So, wow, that's crazy. But not crazy in the weird, goofy way. It's crazy in just like, oh my God, I can't imagine having that experience kind of way. So thank you again. I just love when you guys bring stuff to the table. So we're going to get through some more stuff here tonight. And I want to get through this one article that we were working on last night. And this is coming from factinate.com. And this is some bone-chilling moments we'll never be able to explain. And we read through several of these last night. But this list is pretty long, so I'm not sure where we'll get through tonight. I still want to hit some more of the over-the-road trucking stories because I find those absolutely fascinating. Of course, the long-haul truckers are the ones seeing all of the weirdness in the late nights, covering the roads of America, and the world for that matter. But anyway, this one is number 23, A Ghostly Lullaby. My daughter Madison told me at around the age of 3 about Kellum, the man with brown pants and a yellow shirt that played with her. And I assumed it was an imaginary friend because, well, that's what kids do. God, I sound like that. I think I might have read this one last night, but you're getting it again because I've already started. So redundancy is the key to memorization. Then one day she starts singing a song I'd never heard before. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer. Ooh, I'm half crazy. All for the love of you. And then she'd mumble a few words and back up with the bicycle built for two. I assumed she'd heard it from her babysitter, but when I asked her about it, the babysitter tells me she thought my husband and I taught her the song because she didn't know it either. So I asked my daughter where she'd heard the song, and she tells me that Kellum taught it to me, and he sings it to his baby. Eventually, Kellum faded away. Fast forward to about 5 years ago, and I'm telling the story to a coworker who recognized the song as an old tune called Bicycle Built for Two. That prompted us to start looking on Ancestry.com at my property address history. I start following rabbit holes and found out that in the 40s, a man named Callum Beasley owned the property next to ours, and he was the father of 5 children. Youngest died at the age of 3. Her name was Madeline. Wow. So that one is actually a rerun. I gave you a little bit of a rerun. We're breaking back into it, but this one is called No Thank You. My mother and I are book collectors and avid readers, so when I was growing up, we converted the outside of a cottage my dad had built for his mother into a library, as she had moved on. We had more than 2,000 books, all neatly arranged on the bookshelves alphabetically by the author name. One hardcover book in our collection was an encyclopedia that described in detail various haunted places in the woods, or in the world, rather. The author had taken his own pictures and compared them to historical paranormal photos. The book was the bane of my childhood. It never stayed alphabetical. It would always move to the bookshelf facing the front door. And at the time, I just described it to family pranks. My sister used my love of books to terrify me in the past, namely with Cujo. The pictures had a floating dot of light that would not be in the same picture. I would have read through the book and find it each time. Either I misremembered its location constantly, or I imagined it completely, but after 3 months of not knowing, it ate at me until I committed the greatest sin in my eyes. I circled the floating light in the photo and checked it the next day. The page was blemish-free at this point. I was terrified, so I took the book to school and left it under the floodlights on the cricket field after practice. I found it at home the next day in its spot, facing the front door. That Friday, I took it to school again and gave it to a girl I hated. She left the school the next week and moved away, and I don't know why. I've only seen it once after that, and it was an SPCA secondhand book sale 6 years later. I picked it up, my mother's name in the front, no circle in any of the pictures, and the floating light in the second to last picture. I put it down and left it at the shop. I don't know, that's kind of wild, but other than moving its place, it doesn't sound like anything horrible happened. I'd keep it. That's kind of cool. Hey, check out my haunted book. And apparently it didn't like being given away at all. So And then again, it's a story. I don't know if it's factual or not, but it's a story. So that's what we do here on the show. We talk about encounters. 25 kids know more than they let on. Number 25, kids know more than they let on. And then this will be the last one before the break. Probably, but let's see. My mom told me this story the other day, and it really freaked me out. When my older sister was little, like 3 years old, she asked my then pregnant aunt to pick her up and hold her. My mom said she was like, "She can't pick you up, honey. She has a baby in her tummy." And then my little sister was like, "That baby's dead." My mom freaked out, but my aunt and grandma were fine, and were telling my mom it was all good. She was just a toddler and didn't know what she was saying. Well, lo and behold, my aunt goes to the doctor the next day for a routine pregnancy checkup, and the baby was dead. Gave me the willies just thinking about it. Oh, wow. Yeah, man. Those eyes of the children. Number 26 is Don't Lose Your Head. I guess we'll have time for this one. A couple of years back, I was hiking in the middle of nowhere with some friends, and as we were walking back to camp, because it got dark, we noticed an honest-to-goodness guillotine off the trail a little bit. Well, we walked a little faster after that. Yeah, that's not your usual campsite fun. The last sound, what? This legit sounds like a B movie? Okay. Sorry. My grandmother was a cop in Santa Maria in the late 70s till the early 90s. A man calls in saying there's a 7-foot gray man at his door. Well, she goes to check it out, and the door is jammed. The man is screaming, and she hears a loud buzz. She slams the door open, and the buzz is gone, and so is the man. But there's blood everywhere. She calls for backup, runs around, calls his name. She hears what sounds like someone yelling, but someone is covering their mouth. She finds him tied up, urine everywhere. Investigators say that he was in that room for at least 4 hours. The man lives alone in the middle of nowhere, says he called the police like 5 hours ago, and then they said the cop was on the way. He reported seeing a 7-foot tall, gray man with big eyes who did that to him. No footprints, no trace of any kind of invasion. My grandmother lost 4 hours somehow. The guy ended up killing himself a few years later, leaving a note behind, and in the note, he warned my grandmother that they are after him and thanked her for rescuing him. Wow. That's horrible. That's really, really, really horrible. This one's just a short one, so we can read this one. This is didn't have a pickup line ready. Weirdest thing that I've ever seen. In about 2008 or so, I was driving home through Chickasaw, Oklahoma, at about midnight. I passed a guy who was walking along the side of the road wearing a short white toga and a full-face rubber pig mask. He was carrying a long spear over one shoulder. By long, I mean it's about 10 feet long. And this is in the middle of town, and it was not Halloween. I was sober and am sane. At the time, it was obvious to me that this was a man in a mask, not a pig-headed guy. There has to be a story here. I almost circled the block to ask him, and now I really wish I had. Mysterious pig man, if you're reading this, respond and let me know. That's one of those mysteries you're just going to have to take with you through the journey. I don't know. I think at the point, the 10-foot spear, I'm good. He can have his reasons. That's fine. I really don't need to know. I'm good. Number 29 is ahead of your time, but I think we're going to wait on this one until we get back from the break, folks, because we are moving into the last break of the night. And the evening is cooking away here on the portal, so I hope you're enjoying the journey. Now, remember, we are broadcasting, simulcasting on TFR Live, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, so we end up hitting these breaks because the networks take breaks. So those of you on YouTube, of course, enjoy the music and the videos I threw together for you to punctuate that time so you don't have to listen to a bunch of ads. But it's the reason for the ads, just in case you're sitting there going, man, why do they always take ads? Because I have to. The other nights of the show outside of Friday and Saturday are all pretty much ad-free unless there's a bathroom emergency. Otherwise, we don't take breaks on the Wednesday 2-hour show. So, and remember, of course, Don will be here tomorrow and help manage all the fun that is the Paranormal Portal. And yeah, we're going to wait for the bell here. And when it pops on, we'll go to the last break. We'll come back, hit some more of these stories, hit some more of the over-the-road trucking stories. And by God, that'll be the journey, I think, for tonight. So, but buckle up. We're not done yet. Don't go away. Lots more to come here on the Paranormal Portal. And I'm not finished. I have more. Just need a bell. There's the bell. All right, folks, we'll be right back in just a couple minutes and conclude our journey. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Last half hour is upon us here on the Paranormal Portal. That's right. You've survived an hour and a half so far. And there's about 25 minutes left of the show. Pazuzu666 in the chat room says, talking about a dream, apparently. The first dream, my bedroom had changed to something like you'd see in a hospital. And I was strapped to the bed, struggling. Woke me up into another dream, and there are drones outside the bedroom window. Wow. Yeesh. I don't know, man. Dreams are powerful. And they're certainly, I think dreams are very valid, too. I think a lot of people say, well, I mean, it's the classic line, right? It's just a dream. It's just a dream. It's a parent consoling a child. You know, it's just a dream. But I've had some of the most spiritually cathartic moments in my life in my dreams. And I think that there's something incredible going on there. In dreams are powerful, and they can certainly be valid, real experiences, but experienced in the dream state. I don't know. Very cool. That ain't the worst one, Brent. I'm sure it's not, brother. I'd love to hear more. Anytime you want to email me, I'd love to share your story. And certainly, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not one to call in and you don't want to be a guest on the show or the podcast, you can simply email me stories. I'm happy to do that. We've been doing a couple podcasts lately of listener submissions of their experiences, and I love those. Those are really powerful as well. The thing is the most powerful stories are firsthand, the people that live them. And that's you guys. And of course, even through email, I can ask you questions and get more information if there's something more that I feel should be answered in the story, in the narrative anyway. But, I just love this stuff. I really do. I think it's very, very powerful stuff. And dreams are just as valid. Just as valid. So anyway, I think that's, on a side note, I think we are multidimensional beings. We just don't know that we are. We think that we're physical beings that have these weird dreamlike experiences. Jesus, I'm getting a purple light right in my eye. No, not there. How about there? Okay, then you switch. Awesome. Let's do that. Okay. It's like my nose is all of a sudden purple. But I think, the same is for out-of-body experiences. Well, that's part of our experience, is projecting, astral projecting, and lucid dreaming, and other dreaming. And it could be transdimensional kind of experiences. But you ever have those dreams that are so bizarre, and you're talking to people you've never met before, but in your dream, you're like, oh, that was my best friend ever. And, it's like, that's my wife, that's my sibling. And you wake up and you're like, who the hell are those people? I don't know any of those people. Well, I think that's part of our multidimensional reality here. We exist in more than one plane of existence. It's just we're hyper-focused on this one, at least while we're awake. But anyway, enough of that. Sorry. Ruthie, I laugh at me too. It's good to laugh, but well said, rent. You got to pay the rent. Know what I'm saying? All right, so let's continue here. We got some stories that we've been going through here, and a lot more of them to go. So let's go through at least a few more of these. And this one is ahead of your time. Okay, is this where we were at? Yeah, we got through the pig guys. That's right. Okay, this one's called Ahead of Your Time. And again, this article is factinate.com. And it's strange experiences. I forget what the article is titled, but it says, when I was 9 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night, positive that my Aunt Hope had died. The feeling was so real that it scared the daylights out of me, and I ran to my parents' room crying. I told them what had happened, and they kept saying, it was just a bad dream. Wow, is that prophetic or what? I swear to God, I did not read this ahead. Everything's okay. Aunt Hope is fine. But for some reason, I just couldn't calm down. About 15 minutes later, the phone rang. My dad got up and went to answer it. And it was my uncle calling to tell us Hope had just died. Wow. So there's your dreams right there, folks. They can be gateways for information. I think that's where most of us experience meetings with our loved ones, and it may or may not be remembered, but it's happening on some level. So when you if you're grieving hard and it's hard to understand and you feel all alone, just know that you might be getting together in your dreams, and it might be just on some level you're not remembering, but they're still there. They're still with us. It's been my experience anyway, for whatever that's worth. I mean, my experience isn't necessarily, can't validate yours, but that's my belief. This one is to thine own selves be true. This happened twice, once in 1978 and again in 2015. In 1978, my parents and my siblings were near Yosemite, and while we were preparing for sunset, there was another family identical to mine. Same appearance, style, mom, dad, 2 daughters, and 2 sons. I couldn't tell the age, but they were roughly the same. However, the weird part was their sense of style. Hair and everything was identical to us. What freaked me out was the entire family had this really weird staring into the abyss looks. In comparison to us, we were a bunch of goofy looking people. My parents went over to meet them because we needed something my mom forgot to pack, so they began talking briefly and departed. And later on the car ride home, I asked my family if anyone noticed how similar we all were. Everyone laughed at me, so that was kind of the end of it. In 2015, during my father's funeral, I kid you not, I saw the same exact family, except it was only the mom and the children just walking. They did not age, and I'm 100% sure it was the same people. However, they were just walking, dressed in black, and were not part of our funeral. We live in Washington, but the funeral happened in Montana. But yeah, after that incident, I came home and saw this thread and thought it was perfect because it didn't have a serious tag on it. I don't know what that means, but anyway. Number 31, past life horrors. This one actually just happened with my 4-year-old a week or so ago. Woke up to her laying in the hallway whimpering and crying while still asleep. I woke her up to put her back to bed, and she asked if she had a bad dream. Barely awake, she said, "No, I remembered before I was born here, I was a really bad dog and they made me go to sleep." And then started crying and saying she did not want to remember it. When I asked her the next morning, she said the same thing and got visibly upset again. I even have audio of her starting to tell me the story, getting upset and then changing the topic. That's an interesting point, and oftentimes we don't think about that, but there are religions like the Hindus which believe that we go through cycles of reincarnation, and some of those cycles we might be a mosquito, we might be a fish, we might be a cow, we might be a monkey, might be anything, and then we might be people. And I think that's interesting because I never know what to think of those kind of things. Is it a progression of and this is going to sound bizarre, but this is my show, and this is what you get, some of my bizarre ideas. But I think about it. So when life was created or formed in the divine mind, did we start out as simpler things? And as, and that can be mirrored in what we understand as evolution, that as our consciousness grew, our physical manifestations could become more complex, and our experiences could become more complex. And, is that how it can work? I will tell you that I've seen dogs with just as much, if not more soul than most people I know. They are just so alive and full of love. Cats, other animals. There are some of these animals that are just such bright lights. And there's others that are just bricks. They're just these dopey, stupid things that, they're all beautiful, and I'm not disparaging them, but there's some that are just, you look at them and you can see them thinking and the ideas in their heads, and it's just so powerful. Then others, and you're just thinking, I gotta poop. I need to poop. I need to poop. So it's this incredible display of a spectrum. And it makes me wonder, so what is it if there is reincarnation? Could we be alternating back and forth and be an animal in one and a life in another? And again, it depends on what you believe in. I'm not trying to impress on anybody they need to believe in reincarnation, but This is just how my head works. We're going to read another one here, and then we're going to go over to the truck driver stories. Thrown out baby shoes never worn. My dad was renovating the kitchen in this house before they moved out. We were putting new cabinets in, and we took out the old cabinets, 60-ish years old. And behind the cabinets, inside the wall, we found a pair of white old-timey children's shoes. What did we do? We threw them right in the trash. I guess this pissed off the baby ghost or spirit or whatever it was, because ever since then, we would hear knocks and children running through the house at odd hours of the night, and occasionally my baby sister's crib would be moved from my dad's room and into the hallway. We moved out a couple of years ago and haven't looked back. Truth be known, there was old practices, such as putting children's shoes, putting left shoes in walls and walling them up to ward off evil. So it's possible those shoes were put in the wall because of that very reason, and that had been an effective ward for a long time until they threw the shoes away. So in answer to their riddle, I guess what I would have suggested is pull one of those cabinets and put another pair of shoes in there and seal it off again, see if that helps. But that was an old ritual that was used to ward off witchcraft and evil. And another one was the witch's eye, or the witch's mark. It's looks like a circle pattern, and it's kind of pretty, but you can find it in a lot of old houses that they were, burned into the woodwork or carved into the woodwork on like framing studs and stuff. So very interesting. But when they pulled those shoes, they undid that binding, and they got to deal with it. So there it is. Okay. So that was some of those stories. We'll continue those tomorrow night as well. But little bits of information as we go. Let's pull up these trucker stories again, because I love me some trucking stories. And this is coming from moneymaker.com or moneymade.com. And it's weird because it's like a financial site, but they threw together this huge list of like Reddit stories. And so they did a hell of a job. It's a big thread. But this is number 54 on the list, and it says The Night That Never Ends. Myself and two friends had to drive from Laredo, Texas to Baton Rouge, Louisiana one night in my Ford van, and it was about 2 a.m. There's a particularly long, dark section of highway just outside of Laredo. No buildings, towns, or lights for about 50 miles. It was in the night. I was in the right lane coming up on a truck and pulled out into the left passing lane. As I slowly overtaking this long truck, my peripheral vision caught a sudden movement of this big truck toward the right shoulder. I saw the truck was swerving to avoid hitting a person dressed all in white, with a white face, whose arms were folded across the chest and eyes were closed as they walked across the highway. I swerved to the left and barely missed this ghostly-looking person with my passenger mirror, and I can still remember seeing that their eyes were closed. That's how close we came to hitting this person. Yikes, that's horrible. Number 55, Super Granddad. My grandparents were truckers. One time they were driving along the British Columbia, Canada, and came across a fill station. They filled up and started to head down the road when they see a camper just sitting off to the side of the road with smoke coming out of it. Well, they stopped and investigated, and it looked as though the camper was on fire. So my grandpa, being the crazy man he is, wrapped his hand in a cloth and opened the door. It was a really good thing he did. When he opened the door, he found out the awful truth. There was a family still trapped inside, so he got them out and brought them back to the gas station and went on his way. No idea what happened to the family, and they never took my grandparents' names. Wow. Just happened to come by and open a van and found a family trapped inside? Unbelievable. That's awesome. That's an awesome story. Number 56, Closed Room Mystery. I drove by a marsh every night when I was going home from work. One night I saw a car pulled over with hazards on. The dude was head to toe covered in blood. No crash, no injury, just covered in blood. That's the whole story. Yeah, you keep going on that one. You just got to call somebody. That's somebody else's kind of problem there. The 57 is the Great Unknown. My dad has several stories from hauling logs in Idaho and driving trucks through Utah and Nevada. He once said there was a light keeping pace with him out in the desert on a moonless night. It kept pace for minutes before it disappeared, and his truck just turned off. He pulled off at the next diner, and the folks in there called it a common occurrence. Wow. It's common. Not for the grandpa, it wasn't. Mystery solved is the next one. One time on a long-distance drive, I started seeing white spots about a foot in diameter on the road, probably 30 to 40 over the span of a mile or so. I couldn't quite figure out what they were. Eventually, I came to a pickup truck with a large cage built onto the back and pulled over on the side of the road. And that's when it all became clear. The door to the cage was wide open and completely empty. The man driving it was staring at the empty cage, scratching his head. The white spots were apparently just his lost chickens. Oh no. I hope they made it. Wow. Aiding and abetting is the next one. My great uncle was a long haul truck driver. He swears that one time he was driving down the road only to see two guys pull a rolled up carpet out of a trunk of their car and throw it in the river. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it's still creepy nonetheless. Yeah, you ever see people unloading carpets out in the wilderness? It's never a good sign. They're probably not redecorating. That's probably not just trying to class up the joint. All right, losing it is next. A few years ago, I was driving back from Georgia to Arkansas. The trip usually means I cross into the northern part of Alabama, where I normally take a wee nap at this rest stop area. Well, one day I take my nap, go to the bathroom, get a Red Bull from the vending machine. I get back in my car at 1:30 or 2 a.m. and start driving again. The highway was completely deserted except for me, and I found it weird, but I just shrugged it off. The next thing I know, it's nearing 6 a.m. and there's sun's coming up. My gas tank is near empty. At the rest stop, I had a 3/4 of a tank, and my odometer shows I've driven like 250 miles. But my GPS showed I was only about 10 miles from the rest area. I have no recollection of the time lost. It's just gone. Yeah, that's creepy. Oh, my God. Because something happened there. Something happened, and it's lost. It's just gone. That sounds like a great regression hypnosis deal right there. As well as yours, Brooks. Brooks, I was thinking about that when you were talking. It's like regression hypnosis. What could you remember? But then you got to be ready for it, because once you remember it, you can't forget it again. So maybe it's better not knowing. Light up the sky. I was driving through a brush area and these weird rock walls, no plants or anything, just rock and sand. And it was monsoon time, so it was raining cats and dogs, just pouring so hard you could barely see going 20 miles per hour. Thunder and lightning just rocking the car, sometimes turning into hail and pounding you, just a really nasty storm. I came around the corner and it looked like the whole countryside was legitimately on fire. Like 20-foot tall flames, hundreds of yards in all directions, and while pouring rain at dusk. Just rocks and dirt wildly on fire in the pouring rain. Well, I just slowly drove on. It was totally freaky and surreal. Honestly, I thought I may have hallucinated it, but then I found out the truth. I checked the news and discovered that a propane truck had slid off the road going way too fast and apparently busted open pretty violently and lit on fire. Never did see the truck. Must have been behind something. But I felt a bit bad after about not stopping. Yeah, it's a tough one, because propane doesn't just go up like a candle. It goes like a bomb. That would not be pretty. Number 62 is the ghost town. I have one weird story from when I was a kid. My parents always took us on long road trips every summer. And my dad liked to take the meandering routes through rural towns to see all the tourist traps. And one trip, we passed through a little town in Illinois, the kind that you miss if you sneeze. This one had a bizarre feature: mannequins. Every house and business was only populated by mannequins. I don't remember seeing any people. Everything looked maintained and clean, so someone was at least caring for the place. There weren't any signs or anything indicating it was for tourists, just a convenience store and ball shop with a sign reading, "Eat here, get worms." I think that's some bad English going on there. I don't think they meant for food, probably for fishing, but that's not the kind of topics you throw together on one sign. This is number 63, Rude Awakening. My dad's a trucker, and one night he was taking a nap. He woke up to a chilling realization. There was someone looking through the front window watching him. He was on a bed in the back and got startled. Then he noticed the window was open a little bit, and it was in the middle of summer in Australia, and saw this stranger's hand reach for the keys to unlock the door. My dad yelled at him, which thankfully scared him away, and drove home immediately. Yeah, that's creepy. Eesh. This is number 64, Alarm Bells Ringing. I was cruising down Highway 212 in the middle of the night in southern Montana at about 2 a.m., and I'm pulling through the only town on the lonely stretch of highway. One stoplight town, and I get stopped at the only red light. Hadn't seen a vehicle on the road since I had hopped off I-90 about an hour prior, and there wasn't a single person outside of the town. Sitting at that red light, a loud siren starts sounding, loud enough that I don't see how any person in the town or within a few miles could have slept through it. It reminded me of the siren in that movie Silent Hill. Well, I gunned it through the red light and away from that town as fast as my little 4-cylinder Malibu would go. It may not seem crazy, but just imagine the most haunting sound you've ever heard in a place you've never been, several hours separated from seeing a person last. I'm sure there's an innocent explanation for the siren, but it still sends chills down my spine just thinking about it. Yeah, that's creepy. That's very creepy. This one I think we can read. Okay, this is probably going to be the last one. It's A Deal with the Devil. Ooh. My friend told me a story about riding with his father in his truck as a kid. They were in the middle of nowhere, and they were coming up on a person lying in the road with no one else around, no cars, etc. His dad blew the horn, and they didn't move, so he blew it again, and as he got closer, they still didn't move. So he did something horrific. He told my friend to put his head down and cover his eyes, and then he ran the person over. When they looked back, a bunch of people who were previously hiding were running out of the woods. Basically, his dad had suspected it was a setup for something and wasn't chancing it with this child in the car. I think about that story all the time. Yeah, well, that's a horrible thing. Now, that kind of stuff, I guess, does happen, but that's a tough decision to make, because if you do stop, you're going to get ambushed and probably killed. If you don't stop, you might kill somebody. So, man, that's a tough one. But anyway, that's the show. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Paranormal Portal. There's no tough choices here. Just make sure to tune in every Wednesday through Sunday right here on YouTube, or catch us live on tfrlive.com every Friday and Saturday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time. And you can catch it. You can catch the portal. And remember the podcast, folks. We do a live podcast, or not a live podcast. We do a podcast. It's on all the major platforms: Pandora, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. And it's under the name Paranormal Portal. So if you're a podcast listener, check out our podcast, please. And if you can, leave a review. We love hearing good things about the show. If you didn't like the show, just never mind. Don't bother. It's fine. No, don't worry about it. But anyway, folks, Paisley Wild will be coming up next year on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. So stick around for the amazing venture into the spaces between. And I hope you guys are doing great. Again, Don will be here tomorrow. Join me then. tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Don will be here. I'll be here. And we'll tear it up again and see what kind of mischief we can dig up for the show. But love you all. Be good. Be kind. Be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'll see you tomorrow night, everybody. So just waiting for that bell. It'll be along just a second here. So until then, you still get to deal with me. It's just out of sync a little bit, but just part of the gig. It's coming. Only a moment or so. Or maybe that's it. I guess I'll just close it here, folks. But I love you all. I'll see you tomorrow night. Take care, everybody. Be good. And I'll see you tomorrow night.